everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Taufer. Thanks for listening. You know, my wife Vicky and I have owned and operated our photography studio, V Gallery, for 20 years now. White House has been our lab for the last 16 of those years, and we could not be happier. White House is a family-run business, just like ours. If you haven't already, check them out at whcc.com. And if you want to drop me a line, feel free to email me at jed@whcc.com. Oh man, you guys, I got to sit with Roberto Valenzuela at WPPI a couple weeks ago, and it was legit. He's a force. He's one of those, you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him type of guys. You know, he really knows his stuff. I love his philosophies. I love the way he looks at things. He's a great balance between an artist and a business person. He's a master at producing like incredible images, and he has a really strong acumen for numbers and value and time well spent as well. On top of that, he makes me laugh. Hard. Roberto is a Canon Explorer of Light, which means he's also about teaching, and teaching well. Get ready to laugh and learn, friends. Enjoy. You know what? We were talking about this the other night. And because I was talking to Mike Hanline, and he was like, you and I met Roberto at the same place at the same time.
Epic dinner.
You remember?
I remember every 5 minutes of that dinner. One of the most embarrassing evenings of my life.
Was it?
I mean, the stuff that came out of everybody's mouths during that time.
Right, but it was awkward. But I don't remember you doing anything in particular that was embarrassing for you outside of what everybody else was.
That environment was an overwhelming amount of embarrassment for everybody. I couldn't have taken the grunt of it all. We had to spread the embarrassment wealth around.
I remember, I don't want to say their names because it's actually being recorded, but I remember a nice young new couple sitting there with us that in hindsight even did not say a word the whole time.
Nice new couple. We had a few couples in there.
There was
a few couples. We had a couple from New York, if you know what I mean.
I do.
We had a couple from Australia, if you know what I mean.
I do.
We had it's coming back to me.
I remember who was all there. It was one of those epic dinners. And Mike and I were talking about it the other night, and he was like, that's where we first met Roberto. And I was like, I think you're right. I think that's the first time I actually like met you in person and had
dinner with Mike yesterday.
Did you really?
Yeah, at the strip steak.
Oh yeah.
You know? Oh yeah.
You were at that dinner.
They were almost finishing, and I was at the table next to them, so we just joined tables.
Oh, so you hooked up afterwards.
We of course talked about.
You did talk about that one.
It goes without saying that you have to remember the good times in this industry.
It is one of those things that like it sticks in your mind, and you're like, you have like certain epic dinners that you'll just never forget, and that was certainly one of them. What is it that we can talk about today?
Let's talk about putting some hot sauce on your photography work.
Ooh.
Yeah. Let's make it spicy, man. Nobody wants boring anymore. Let's awaken the senses. Yeah.
Well, expand on that a little bit.
Well, you know, I think it's all right there. You know, when you eat food, if it's bland, you just eat it because you need the nutrition and you just move on with your life. But food can be nutritious and exciting. Photography is a necessity. We need photography for events, for portraits, for headshots, for business, for remembering special moments in our lives. But we just seem to be in this kind of rut of allowing ourselves to let the technology do a lot of the creativity and dictation and a lot of the stuff. And we're so excited about the technology that we forget the creativity side. And I feel like when I get up in the morning, what gets me excited is what can I do to make my photo shoot today exciting for people when they see it? Like what can awaken their senses? What can be like, ooh, that's something there. I want that kick in the tongue, you know, or chili, you know. I want that kick in the eyes for photography. That's what I would like more people to be able to do.
So are you saying that, okay, so you have a company like Canon that makes a camera that is incredible.
That's right.
Like what you can get from a Canon camera today is mind-blowing. And that applies to so many people. Like you don't have to, it's not like it used to be. It's it is in fact easier to get great content. But are you talking about like next level stuff?
You can
hot
even
sauce, like the next level stuff?
I'm definitely talking about pushing yourself to a higher level than even above average.
Yeah.
And the technology today, especially with Canon's crazy, amazing cameras they're coming out with, allows you to make it easier to
Right.
get that hot sauce in your work.
Right.
For example, we could now have a more personal relationship with the person that we are posing or the subject we're photographing, because we can now let the camera be away from our face while it's still tracking the eye.
Oh.
And because of that, we're able to actually have more of a personal interaction with the person without the camera being in between our faces.
So this is actually actually a perfect example of technology
Exactly. Yeah.
facilitating
Exactly.
interpersonal relationships. Because everyone always complains about how technology is ruining interpersonal, like Facebook's destroying our relationships. So you're actually taking.
I'm
you're
embracing
using
the technology to create the hot
because
sauce.
it's allowing you to interact more with your subject, with your client, right? And not have to worry about what the output's going to be, because you know Canon's got it. You know that camera has got what you want.
The camera's going to do its job.
Right.
So now I want to see more exciting expressions out of the subjects we're photographing. When we see photographs, the photographer can now have a much more intimate, much more personal relationship. He can communicate with him or her way better, way deeper. Why are we not seeing a result in the expression side? When we see the photos of the subjects these people are photographing, I think it's time to let the technology allow us to get more hot sauce out of those expressions, Something that awakens you, Something that says, that's emotional, that's exciting, there's a feeling I relate with. Instead of just, there's a person. There's just another person. What about the person? If you can have a conversation like we're talking right now, face to face, we are able to discuss things. You can see my face. You can see my expression.
Right. You're not hidden behind.
No, I don't have a pillow in front of my face. So
right. So pillow, camera, whatever it may be.
Yeah, camera, pillow. So I want to see photographers use the technology today that that Canon is putting out, especially with the crazy new R5 that's coming out, which is I'm just like, wow, that's and see how we can push the creativity, the visual creativity. So when people see the photo, it awakens your senses somehow.
So do photographers need to really focus on working? Given that, do photographers need to focus on working more on their interpersonal skills? Like, is it like I need to work on my relationship skills? And I say that because, again, like you have all this kind of fighting against you with social media in particular, and the way that we're texting, and you're not even talking on the phone anymore with each other. You're just sending text, and it's almost like if you call somebody, they want to know right away, like who died? Like what happened? I'm getting a phone call from you. Why don't we just... So it's like we have this skill set that we need to work on more, since the technology's kind of got our backs, so to speak.
Sort of.
We need to work on our in-person relationship skills. Is that fair to say?
Do you think it is 100% fair? It's right on the dot, man. Okay. Do you think a classical pianist would go to a concert and start playing and interpreting a classical piece in concert in front of 300 people that paid good money, and he's doubting himself every time his fingers touch the piano keys? He's killing it because that stuff is engraved in his brain. Right. It's engraved in his finger muscle memory. Right. He is at the point where the technology, or in this case, the virtuosity, the technicality, is so part of him that the only thing he has to do now is create that magic in the music. His interpretation has to be on point, and then people get pumped up, when they see this passion coming out. That's the soul.
And there's that connection between the audience and the artist.
Yes, because of the musician. Photographers, Jed. Photographers are amazing human beings because we like storytelling, and we love technology. We love software. We love Photoshop. We love editing, but we have to be confident, and confidence will never come unless your technical virtuosity or your technical ability is down. You have it down, and it doesn't get in the way. The camera can do a lot, but you still have to be highly trained, second nature stuff. And photographers, not everybody, but quite a bit of us listening to the podcast, maybe you're sitting in your car listening to this, I don't know, but when was the last time you actually trained yourself to be faster at setting up your speed lights, or setting up groups, or creating a goal. For example, like I want to do a 3 flash setup, channels A, B, and C, and I want channel C to be zoomed at 200 millimeters on the flash head, and then I want to put a gel on flash A. Then time yourself. How fast does it take you? Does it take you 10 seconds? Does it take you 30 minutes? If it takes you 30 minutes, you're never going to use that lighting creativity in a real job. You'll never be able to use it. You have to be responsive at a job. If you get inspired by something and you're like, oh man, I just felt like I want to be able to create this. You should be able to create that within 30 seconds, no matter how complicated it is.
Because you want to be able to offer your client a fantastic experience. And if you're fumbling around with lights and gear and equipment, that is hampering their experience.
Exactly.
And then that's going to come through in the imagery.
It is going to come through, and then you're providing average photographs of a person. Yeah. And photographs of people is not what we do. It's photographing souls, photographing feelings, photographing emotions, photographing people's memories. No, I don't care about the person. I don't care to see their skin. I see skin. I see people's faces everywhere I go. That's not exciting for anyone. Right. That's like eating broccoli, you know?
Right.
We want to see what about that person, you know? What is it that makes that person, what are the stories in that person's brain? What is their life?
The soul,
I care about the soul, the essence of the human being behind them. And technology can help us get there. But I'm telling photographers, maybe it's time, instead of just buying the gear and then just like using it at 1% of its capability, why don't you get out there and know everything about those cameras and those flashes and create little goals for yourself and see, how can I use this goal on the real world? How fast does it take me to get to this point? How can this technology help me do something extraordinary instead of just average? How can this technology help me capture the essence of the person instead of just what they look like? We got to step it up, man. Cameras are stepping up, flashes and strobes are stepping up, and photographers still refuse to freaking train themselves.
Why?
You know?
Why do they refuse?
Because they are playing with the toys. These are not toys. These are not toys. These are respectable instruments that have a purpose. You have to treat it that way.
I have not heard that. I have not heard that explanation as to why yet. People are usually like, oh, they're afraid, but you're saying they're perceiving the equipment wrong. They're like looking at the whole thing from the wrong point of view.
Yeah, they're for example, let me think of an example here.
Well, and what you're really saying is there's an awful lot more potential there than they're even aware of.
Right.
Like these instruments, you call them, these tools, rather than toys or rather than even just merely gear.
Right.
They're capable of helping somebody create something so much more, and you call it the hot sauce, right?
The hot sauce.
That above average.
Exactly.
Type of image and experience that people are even aware of because they kind of stop there in their minds and look at it a certain way. And you're saying there's just so much more to it.
And I think I am saying that. And I think if you spend the money on the gear, which we all do and we all love, it's actually for your own benefit to go beyond the basics of the camera.
That's what I'm getting at.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like, look, I know cameras pretty well, I would say. I still go over the I don't want to say read the manual. I don't want to be that guy. But I don't want to be that guy, you know. I know what that guy is. I'm not that. But I am saying be curious.
Be curious.
Yeah, be curious.
Allow yourself to be curious.
Please do it. Be curious. What is this feature I've never used?
Right.
And then write down in your piece of paper, how can this feature be used in a job? Why was this feature even engineered?
Right.
Why
is it there? Right.
Now, why is it there? You know,
right.
You know those pre-programmed focusing styles that Canon cameras have, like focusing 1 is for speedy movement, or
right.
2 is for like vertical movement, and 3.
I've actually seen that in the manual.
Well, I'll tell you what. When my son was born, Lucas, I never looked at those things. I never really did. And now with when these cameras come out, and you kind of want to experiment with what these things are for.
Right.
I actually started being curious about this, and not that I ever would, you know. In my professional life, I would never use those presets. You know, I just use the focusing the way I do. But I started getting curious about these presets, photographing my child running around like crazy. And I nailed 99% of him no matter where he was. And when you try to do that manually, I can still get a pretty high percentage. But the technology was there for a reason. And I was never curious enough to explore it. And now that I do, I'm like, how can I use this in a job? You know, maybe this technology is there for a reason. Maybe these things are worth looking at with more detail. The silent shutter on the Canon EOS R, how could I use that in a job? What if you're photographing somebody that's apprehensive about being photographed, or is awkward, or is uncomfortable? Would this silent shutter be a tool that you could use? You know, and the eye tracking. So not only can this person not see a camera right in front of their face, but they won't hear the shutter interrupting. What if they're telling a story, and that story awakens that essence that we're trying to photograph, because their brain triggers expression in the face, right? And we're trying to photograph that entire process. But if the shutter keeps going off, it's distracting to the whole experience.
What do you say to the person that answers or comes back at you in response to this and says something like, I don't think I'm capable. I'm let me try to word this right. The people that just see themselves as not being technically savvy enough. I'm not technically savvy. I'm not a gearhead, or I don't know about that, or that stuff doesn't come easy to me. So I'm not really ever going to be able to do what you're talking about. I'm not capable of that.
Well, I'll ask them, are you able to walk? Are you able to lift a bottle of water? Are you able to put a fork to your mouth? Because that takes more. That takes more from an anatomy point of view, like balance, having one leg in front of the other. If you can manage that, of course you can manage the technology. I mean, the technology is not made to be difficult.
Right.
The technology is made to be there.
Right.
It's
a lot more user-friendly
it's easy.
than it's a lot more user-friendly than it used to be in general.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more user-friendly than what people think it is.
Exactly.
Like, if you don't give it a shot, you're not going to realize how easy it could very well be.
I teach this workshop in Tucson. It's a lighting class, and people come over and they say, I'm not a technical person. I've never really used flashes. And I said, why not? And they're like, well, you know, you got your channels, you know, you got your groups. And I was like, okay.
I'm not a technical person. Those are the people that I'm referring to.
Yeah, I'm not a technical person.
I hear that all the time.
Everyone's a technical person. You have a cell phone, don't you? I mean, you turn it on and you record contacts, and then you say save, and then you post their photo on Instagram. I mean, everyone's a technical person. So I show them some basic things, you know, like here's how you convert the flash from manual to TTL, and then they're like, oh. I was like, oh, I mean, you bought a $500 flash, $500 flash, and you know. It would have taken 3 seconds on YouTube,
right,
or on a book,
right.
Especially, I'm a book guy, so on a book, and be able to say, okay, you just have to push this one button, and here's what that button does.
Right.
And why would you go to manual? Why would you go to TTL? Very simple, you know. TTL allows you the flash basically looks at the scene and says, okay, I'm just gonna flash to what I think the middle exposure would be,
right,
to keep it simple.
Right.
Manual. It's not hard. You choose. If it's too bright, you make it darker. If it's too dark, you make it brighter. And that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Right. Know? Just like there's a lot of common sense involved in the whole process as you're going through it and thinking through it.
That's
too.
right.
What other kinds of hot sauce?
Well, yesterday at the Canon stage, for example, I wanted to prove the point of creating some hot sauce on with limited equipment and on stage, and I created this. I mean, it's weird for me to say, a beautiful, angelic image, photograph of the model that was provided by Canon. And I did it all with one flash, a paper towel, one flash, a paper towel, a diffuser, and some cardboard I found somewhere on, I don't know, some piece of cardboard I found that had a dark side. Yeah. That dark side of the cardboard was used to cut out shadows, to subtract light from the face. The flash was shot through a diffuser, and it created just... I don't know, it's probably one of my favorite photos I've ever photographed live on the Canon stage. And the audience, you can see when the photo came up on the screen, they all
you hear it,
yes,
right?
they gasped. They're like, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
And I said, That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That was done with one flash.
Yeah.
There's this misconception that you gotta add. If you buy 15 flashes, you gotta use all 15 flashes at every shoot, because then you're not getting your money's worth or something.
Sure, I get it. Yeah.
If you buy 15 flashes, you may not need any of them if the lighting is what you want it to be.
Right.
But lighting, external lighting like flashes or strobes or whatever, allows you to put light where you want, and light should be a piece of communication.
Right.
It should not just be used for illumination. So
Right.
remember, if you are trying to communicate something to the viewer of the photograph, it's going to have to happen through light. Light is the communicator, not just a tool to illuminate the person. Okay, so I want to let people know, when you shoot your photographs, are you using light just to see the exposure, or are you using light in a way to communicate a message to the viewer of the photograph? So
That's more hot sauce.
that's the hot sauce.
I like it.
That's the hot sauce. If the light communicates something, you got the hot sauce right in it. You put your ghost pepper, Tabasco, whatever your flavor is, put it on. Put it on.
How did Roberto Valenzuela become the brand? How did the man Roberto Valenzuela become the brand Roberto Valenzuela?
Easy. I worked really hard. I trained harder than anyone. That I woke up. I was motivated. I was persistent, and I did not want it to be an average photographer. That's the brand. I'm about working hard. I'm not about the shortcuts. I'm not about the easy approaches. I'm not about the make yourself rich quick schemes. I'm not about any of that. I'm about work your ass off, and it will pay off.
Would it surprise you that that just is the flat out common theme in the last 2.5 years that I've been doing this? When I ask somebody like you, how did you become who you are? How did you get to where you were?
Right.
It's always hard work.
Is it? Yeah. Jed, when I came to WPPI, the first time, maybe 14, 15 years ago, I couldn't even afford to stay at the hotel where the convention was being held.
Yeah.
I was a skinny little kid walking into the hotel. I stayed at a motel with my wife. It was my wife and I at the hotel, but I think there were other living beings in the room. Okay, there were other living creatures. I don't know how many roaches we found, but we were not alone.
You were not alone.
We were not alone
Vegas.
in the room. Okay. I was shy. I was scared. I was overwhelmed by the magnitude of the show of WPPI and the amount of talent here. And I cannot believe. Actually, I can believe the work that put me here today.
I understand the hard work piece, okay? Because I get that, and I think that's right on the money. How did you overcome the shy piece? How did you gain confidence? How did you become in that area?
Again, I think that goes down to waking up, going to your living room, and grabbing your equipment. And when you know your equipment, your confidence increases. Okay. So that's just the true, my honest opinion about my confidence. My confidence. If you're shy because you don't know,
you're giving yourself less things to worry about.
You are. If I want to create a certain type of image and the technical know-how is already in my head, then I can just execute that vision.
Focus on other stuff.
Yeah, I can just execute that vision. Everyone that has a camera and a flash can go get a mannequin from online, put the mannequin in your home. That could be a little creepy. Maybe put it in the dungeon or put it somewhere else. I don't know.
Because the dungeon's not creepy.
The dungeon would be more creepy only if you bring guests to the dungeon. But if it's only you at the dungeon, well, that's creepy too.
Put it in the dungeon that nobody knows about.
Yeah, exactly. That, and have your mannequin there. I did buy mannequins, and I worked on my lighting. Yes. And I worked on my lighting, and that's where I trained myself. I trained myself in lighting using plastic mannequins. I also trained using fruits and vegetables that I had laying around.
For real.
I did. I really did. The banana skins of a banana kind of emulate the skin of a person. So I actually practiced lighting ratios with bananas, and it's a true story. I had a very, very humble beginnings in this entire thing.
Yeah.
I could barely afford the camera and lens I got. But when I started getting my transmitter and my flashes, and I started trying to bring the hot sauce in, What do you photograph? If you wait till you have a model in front of you, you may be waiting 5 days to be able to get a practice session in. Then you have to go to Model Mayhem. Then you have to say thank you and apologize. You have to buy them a bottle of wine if it's your friend. If it's your wife or your kids, they never want to see you again because you're taking the pictures too much and you're annoying half the world.
Yes.
So my confidence in my lighting came first because I was able to practice with items in my house, like fruits.
Right.
My confidence in posing took a lot longer.
Okay.
That you do need human beings.
Right.
You do need human beings for this. But I want people to take the opportunities to learn lighting and posing and take those things seriously, because those two things, lighting, posing, especially composition too, but lighting and posing will allow you to be free in order to capture something with higher emotional value, higher caliber.
So those things in particular are what you focus on, really trying to help people with and really trying to teach people.
Because I know how much it did for me.
Right.
That's why I invest so much of my time and energy creating platforms, classes, workshops, lighting workshops, posing workshops. That these are opportunities. These are all the years of training that I've had. It is for you to now grab it. If you want to grab it, it's there for you. People have no problem buying equipment, but there is this block of like, I don't want to learn how to use it. I don't want to pay for anybody to teach me how to become a way higher caliber photographer. Why not? Why not?
Right.
You buy the gear to suck? No, you buy the gear to do something amazing with it, right?
Right.
So I have opportunities there. There's a lot of great educators out there.
Yeah.
The things that I can provide for people are classes in posing, which to me, it is critical.
Yeah.
If you photograph clients and clients are not experts in photography, they still know when they don't look good because the pose looks like they're hunching or
you think the posing
flattering.
Don't you think the posing in and of itself is hot sauce? When
the pose is invisible, that's the hot sauce. When the pose doesn't show up in the photograph, when the pose looks like a blatant pose, like you're posing the photographer pose, they're just posing there because the photographer told them to.
Right.
That's where you need help.
Right.
Okay. That's where if you're listening to the podcast, if the photos look like you post the person, you have broccoli. You have flavorless food in your plate.
So the secret to posing, if I'm hearing you right, is making it look as though it wasn't.
Correct. That's it. That's what I work every day for. Is when people look at the photo, I want the essence, the message, the mood, whatever. I don't want the pose to distract you from that.
Right.
The pose should be part of the person. It shouldn't be some weird, contrived, forced body position that you force people in because you just thought that's posing.
Right.
Posing, it is a critical aspect of being a photographer if you photograph people, and lighting is what puts it all on paper, basically.
Right.
Okay? You can pose nice, and if the light's terrible, it's going to just go back to flat. It's bland. It is magical when you create a beautiful portrait that's posed in a way that you cannot even tell it was posed, but it's lit in a way that communicates something. That's why there's these opportunities to learn how to do these things with or without equipment. This year, 2020, I am giving photographers the opportunity to bring some hot sauce to their lighting game by going to the Photo Creators Conference. Right. Now, why did I create this conference? I created it because if I was going back 10 years ago and I could create the dream place where I could really focus on a single subject, it would be something like this. The Photo Creators Conference is only a lighting and printing education conference. And why printing? Because printing is how you make a lot of your money as a photographer. You buy, people don't really pay for the shoots as much these days because shoots are everywhere.
Right.
But if the shoot is amazing, the photos that you take in that shoot are amazing, and then you learn how to sell your skill, and then you print it and you frame it and you mat it, and then people buy these things and you have sets ready for your clients, and you understand what is the psychology of what makes people want to buy a big print versus just trying to sell them a photo. Two very different things. Selling a client a photo is very different then understanding the consumer behavior, the psychology of why they should buy a piece of art, a piece of wall art for their home.
Yeah.
These things are gonna be what we're gonna concentrate in. So I'm inviting some of the world's best lighting educators to this conference in our Dude Ranch in Tucson with an amazing experience at the ranch. Beautiful. So it's gonna be me, Joel Grimes, Jen Rosenbaum, and Rocco and Cora. Now, the way this is designed is to be an overall lighting conference.
Yeah.
I'm going to be teaching all flashes, everything. So if you are struggling with flash, if flash is being used at the basic levels, I want to awaken that creativity using flashes because they're portable, because they're easy to carry, because they're easy to come by. And if that's the tool you have at hand, wherever your photo shoots may be, I want you to be a master of your craft. And that's going to be my portion. Joel Grimes is going to be teaching everything that has to do with strobes. He's one of the greatest commercial portrait photographers I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And his control of light and strobes and modifiers is second to none. I want people to have that knowledge also. I want them to know if I buy a Pro Photo strobe or whatever brand you choose, and you have a certain modifier, why would you choose this modifier? Why would this modifier be used instead of another one? All of that. Jen Rosenbaum is going to be in charge of teaching all things related to natural light, how to read it, how to harness it, how to get the most out of it, how to create shadows, how to change shadow density using natural light, how to flatter people using natural light, how to create dimension using natural light, how to flatter people using natural light. That's her world. She's also going to teach how to combine LED continuous lights with natural light. And then Rocco and Cora coming in from Australia, he's going to finish this by teaching you how to edit, how to retouch to a beautiful level, and then most importantly, how to print it so it looks like the photo is alive in the paper, not just a flat image in the paper.
So all the post stuff, he's going to take care of
teaching
that.
all the post.
So you've put together, you've essentially put together a group and you've created a conference that you wished you would have had 10 years ago.
It would have been very helpful.
And this is in May, right?
This is in May 18th through the 21st, 2020. Right. And what you just said is exactly right. It would have been very helpful to me 10 years ago to have, instead of getting a little bit of knowledge here, a little bit of knowledge there, instead of having to piecemeal all my education together, it would have been nice to go to a place and say, where can I go to just nail my lighting? And then I just want to go there. And see what that does to your education, you know? I think people will benefit not only from a financial point, because our goal is not only to learn lighting, but to learn how to sell yourself so that skill can be monetized. Does that make sense?
Yeah, White House loves everything you're saying. And I do too, like from a personal standpoint, right? Because of course I work for White House, but my wife and I have had a studio, and we have seen the benefits over and over of everything you're talking about on the front end. But then from a printing standpoint as well, like those printed pieces mean so very, very much.
Exactly.
And not just from a profit standpoint, of course they do, but also from a personal standpoint.
100%.
For everybody involved.
100%.
When you look at where you're at now and where you've come, how far you've come, and think about where you started. What are the feelings that come to mind, like on a personal level? What stirs in you when you consider that journey?
I feel incredibly blessed, man. It has been, and I don't mean blessed I don't mean it like just like in a religious way or anything. I'm talking about blessed because it has been a dream like journey for me. I came in as a shy little boy that was excited about photography. I was just so pumped up. I was full of curiosity, right? And to like I've shot the campaign for the 5D Mark IV for Canon, you know? I couldn't believe my photos were at the Whitney Museum of Art in New York. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about a cheesy pinch me scenario here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this is real. This happened. I was in India last year and I got up on stage and people applauded and got a standing ovation, and I almost started crying because I am not someone that takes these things for granted. I'm a person that's very very thankful, and I'm full of gratitude for the support of every photographer and every educator that has shown me, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It has been an amazing journey. last year Canon sent me on a 10-country tour for the Canon EOS R of 10 Southeast Asian countries. I got to go to Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Hanoi, Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, Hong Kong. I went to India, Mumbai. I went to Taipei, Taiwan. I went to Bangkok. I went to Jakarta, Indonesia. The list goes on and on. And this
amazing places.
Oh my gosh! And I seriously, I don't want to be cheesy or anything, and I don't really show emotion much in the industry things, but I felt like I wanted to cry every time I was leaving a country, and I saw everyone, how they treated me, how the work that I showed inspired people. But more importantly than inspiring, I wanted to empower people that they can do it. If you're that shy person sitting in the audience, you don't have to be sitting in the audience being the shy person forever. You know?
Don't have to.
You don't. You can kill it. You are a killer. You people just don't know that it's in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't be the shy person. Photography is not. I don't think photography, especially people photography, is a discipline for the shy. Photography, I think people photography, you have to have confidence in you. Yeah. Because if people smell confidence, if you portray confidence, a lot of your work is gonna come through. Right. If you are shy and quiet and you don't wanna let go, you don't wanna be vulnerable. If you're just, no, I just wanna take my pictures, then maybe photojournalism or commercial photography or something like that.
Well, those attitudes and behaviors are going to manifest in the imagery. Like that shows up. You know, if you're confident, that's going to have an impact on the final output.
That's right.
And vice versa.
That's right. But I need to correct myself. I don't mean being shy in general. I'm being shy while you're shooting.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
You can be shy in general. Yeah. But you have to be a killer tiger when you're shooting.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
You can still be a shy person.
Yeah. You can be a shy person, right. But when you're trying to bring something out, when you're trying to get the hot sauce in the shoot, in the shot, in the photographs, hot sauce is not gonna come from being quiet and shy and timid in the dark corners of the. Right. You're gonna have to come out. You know. Right. You're gonna have to get that tiger out of you, and you're gonna have to be like. For those 10 seconds you're doing those pictures, you have to just kill it. The killer instinct must come out, or you will be shooting flavorless food for the rest of your career. Does that make sense?
I love the hot sauce philosophy. I do, and I think it's important, probably now more than it ever has been. Where can people go to find you, and the information that you were talking about with your workshops and all the and social media stuff, like all the regular details? Where can people find you? I like letting people know that when in my social media in Instagram, which is I would say that's the main thing people can see what I'm doing, and it's not just to see what I'm doing. I am actually sharing for the purpose of inspiring and getting people pumped up about the possibilities. Yeah. And I usually do a description of how I did the photograph because I'm not just showing the picture. I want people to learn from it. Right. So that's my Instagram account, and that's Roberto_photo. Yeah. I have another one that I don't post as much as I should. It's called Roberto Weddings. That's like a wedding one. But the main account is Roberto_photo. I do encourage people to see what it's like to go to a serious conference based on a single subject of lighting and printing and see what that does to your career. Yeah. And that's going to be the Photo Creators. That's going to be at thephotocreators.com. That is in May 18th through the 21st in Tucson, Arizona at a dude ranch in the Sonoran Desert. We're going to be having dinner, wine, breakfast, lunch together. It's going to be an amazing time. But most importantly, I hope when you leave that conference, you are 20 times the photographer you were when you came in. And I hope, more importantly, that you know how to monetize that skill, because at the end, we need to. All the skill in the world is not going to pay the bills. Right. So we are going to train you and train everybody that comes on how to monetize that skill set so clients decide you are the man for the job. Fantastic. I don't want people to want to hire you. I want people to need to hire you. Right. Those are two very different feelings. So, and then you have my posing workshops, which I think are very critical for people to know. And those are on my website, robertovalenzuela.com. Yeah. And you click on the workshop link, I'm doing like 8 posing workshops. I do about 8 a year.
And this is the first year where I'm doing 2-day workshops, which is my normal. And I'm also offering a 1-day option for people that cannot get away as much, but they still want to learn the material.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's been fun, man.
Man, the hot sauce. I'm going to be thinking about the hot sauce for a long time.
Yeah. I eat hot sauce for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't have a meal without it.
Do you like Cholula?
No.
Oh, that's mine. What do you like?
I need much higher stuff, man.
You need hot sauce.
Yes, I'm all about the ghost pepper and the Carolina Reapers.
Buddy, okay.
And I put ghost pepper powder on my eggs every day. I travel with ghost pepper powder in my bag on the plane. So when I'm on a plane, I put my powder in there. People are like coughing up the lung.
No,
they're like, what is that?
Well,
I'm like, sorry.
Considering you're saying Cholula's not hot sauce, then okay, I got it.
Cholula's like melted candy.
Yeah.
In a hot sauce bottle.
You're right.
Sorry, Jen.
No, you're on another level.
Yeah, it's just
in many ways, obviously. Thanks for your time, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you so much.